You may be familiar with the movie version of the Hotel Rwanda crisis. Today we're going to talk to the man who lived it, and he'll tell us how the story didn't end where the movie did.
This program was made possible by funding from the UCF Global Perspectives Office.
Hello and welcome to the Global Perspectives Show. I'm John Bercia, Special Assistant to the President for Global Perspectives at the University of Central Florida. It's not often you meet a real-life hero, somebody who has faced insurmountable odds and won. Today we're talking to one such person. His name is Paul Rusesabagina. He's the real-life hero of the Hotel Rwanda story. Welcome, Mr. Rusesabagina.
Well, thank you, John.
Tell us a little bit of background. What was the situation like in Rwanda that led up to the circumstances that became the movie Hotel Rwanda?
Actually, many times when people see what is going on, they always take it as if it happened that very same day. But behind that, there are always signs of time that show us what is going to happen, and we do not pay attention. In Rwanda, for instance, before the genocide and during the genocide, Rwandans, Hutus and Tutsis, were fighting for power. We were in a civil war. So the climax of the civil war became a genocide. But within that period of time, for 4 years, we had been undergoing a civil war that had displaced 1.2 million people, especially from eastern and northeastern Rwanda, where the war started. So this 1.2 million people were surrounding Kigali, coming to beg in town daytime and going to sleep outside, dying of catastrophes, natural catastrophes in camps. And this, the people did not know. And that is what brought up the kind of anger and the bitterness between Rwandans, Hutus and Tutsis because of the war.
So that gives us sort of the broad picture, but then help us understand what was happening to you and your family as this crisis was building.
As this crisis was building, me and my family, we were very much concerned. This is why we decided in November 1993 to leave our house, go and stay in the hotel. We were driving our children to schools from the hotel every morning and bringing them back to the hotel again in the evening. So everybody, there were heavy tensions within the capital city, a lot of assassinations. The genocide, when it came, we were seeing it just as you can see a car on a street going to hit a kid, just a car in a slow motion, going to hit a kid. And instead of doing whatever we can do, we happened, and this is still what is happening, to close our eyes, close our ears, turn backs, and tend to run away. This is what was going on. So the climax became the genocide, but within that period, before, people were still being butchered. This is the period where you could hear that people were in a bar drinking, and someone came in, threw in grenades, and killed so many people, injured many others.
Well, how is it, in your opinion, that so often in cases of genocide, initially people don't want to pay attention, don't want to listen to the details, don't want to believe that this is happening? Why is that? And that was the case here as well.
I think this is a human nature. In the human nature, we always tend not to be concerned. We always tend not to be involved in whatever is going on. And this is why we turn our backs, we close eyes, we tend not to be aware. And when it happens, after it has happened, we always come in just apologizing.
And we say this is never going to happen again, and then it happens again in a different part of the world in a different time.
And maybe I might tell the audience that this might be the title of my future, my next book. Does never again mean never again? Because to me, never again means rather again and again and again and again. Because since ever, especially after World War II, the world gathered all over and said, this, we will never, ever allow this to happen anymore. And yet, it is still happening on our watch.
So give us a sense of the size of the problem in Rwanda. How many people were ultimately killed by this crisis?
With our minds, it is not easy to grasp what was going on in Rwanda in 1994. You can imagine a small country of 26,000 square kilometers, and in this country, from both sides, each and everyone killing, since we were in a civil war, and there was a winner because the war never stopped. So an average of 10,000 people were being butchered every day. This is beyond what we can understand. It is too much. The average in such a small country with 7 million people, that is beyond. Too far.
So 7 million people at the beginning of this, how many were actually killed? What is the estimate?
1 million out of 7.
At least 1 million.
That is approximately 15% of the people killed in 3 months.
Yeah, terrible tragedy. So this is happening all around you, and so you have now moved into the hotel for safety. And what are the conditions like in the hotel? What keeps people from outside out of the hotel?
Well, at the beginning, when I arrived at the hotel for the first time, for the first day, it was on April 12th, 1994. And this is what many people do not know. I was no more a general manager in the Mid-Colleen Hotel. I had left the Mid-Colleen Hotel in 1992, November. I was a general manager in a sister hotel, which was the Diplomat. And the Diplomat, when the genocide broke out, was occupied immediately by the new government. And on the 12th in the morning, that day in the morning, they decided to flee Kigali, the capital city, go to Gitarama, which is a neighboring city towards the south. So when they decided to leave, the real Mid-Colleen manager, the then Mid-Colleen manager, was now evacuated on the 11th. And we already had about 400 people in the hotel. So I moved from my hotel, my unit, and went to the Mid-Colleen Hotel back after 1.5 years. What was my main concern the very first time? My main concern, I had 2 concerns, or 3, but the most important ones were 2. One was to get protection for the hotel. Second was I needed to get rid of those guys who were disturbing. Those ones who had, because the manager, the Mid-Colleen manager, when he left, he took the hotel keys, threw them to the hotel receptionist. So when I came, I had to just get back those keys. So protection, and also get back my authority, which I did not have because I was no more a manager there. So then, after doing this, I had to manage with the minimum we had. We had no food, you can imagine. Our meals were limited to corn and dry beans for the whole duration of the 3 months. We did not have water. I had to go down to the swimming pool myself twice a day and just ration that swimming pool water. The swimming pool water at that time was much more important, much more expensive to me than gold and diamonds. It was that water, I had to ration that water. And I also had to cook outside there. You can imagine, I will never forget that big tree, the focus tree, under which we used to cook outside. We had no electricity. So you can imagine, no food, no water, no electricity. Smuggling beans and corn to survive, to make survive more than 1,000 people. You cannot imagine having more than 1,000 people looking at you for everything. And yet, the hotel was attacked every now and then. Every minute had its own troubles. Every hour, every day, every week, every month. Then we went on like that for months.
Were there guards around the pool? What kept people from
Yeah,
taking?
I also negotiated the very first day. I negotiated security with the commander of the police in Kigali. The gendarmerie, what we call gendarmerie, is normally the police. So I had the very first thing I had to negotiate for was security. Then I was given 5 policemen who came to protect my hotel, and they stayed there from the beginning, from April 12th until the end of the whole process. Yeah.
But 5 people against these large crowds, if there had been many trying to get in, they wouldn't have been able to do that much.
I was always in time. I had a network working. So whenever we were almost in trouble, I was in touch with many different high-ranking leaders in the army, generals especially.
Tell us what it was like on a daily basis. You've said it was an ongoing threat. You never felt safe. You felt you could be killed at any time. What was it like on a typical day?
On a typical day, at a given time, it was a kind of routine. I was negotiating, dealing with those guys who wanted to kill my guests. I was very much concerned by what they could eat, because at least people needed to eat 2 meals a day, and this was more than enough, I think. So I was also very much concerned that I could be killed myself, because the killers at a given time realized that they could not kill my guest before they kill me. So I was the first targeted person to be killed. So I knew this, but in my nature, I do not believe in the majority, in the mass, in what people tell me. I believe in what my own conscience, and I always call my own conscience my unique advisor. This only advisor who never confuse right to wrong is the conscience. So I knew I was going to be killed, and since I knew I was going to be killed, I said to myself, before I'm killed, let me do what I believe in. What I believe is the right thing. What my own conscience is telling me every time that I'm doing the right thing or the wrong thing. Let me do what I believe is the right, and do something small before I'm killed. And I went on like that, doing every time, every minute, every day, a small thing, and the next small thing from that time until the end.
And as you've said before, the natural tendency in this kind of environment is to run away. Did you ever have that impulse to run away, or did you feel you had to stay and take a stand and do your part to fix this problem?
I had no choice, as I said. I had to listen to myself, to listen to my own conscience. This is why on May 3rd, 1994, we had an opportunity to be evacuated. And that day, when I was on the list, almost number 1, my conscience told me that, listen, if you happen to leave these people and they are killed, I will never set you free. You never be a free man. You never go to bed and sleep. I will never allow you to eat or drink and feel satisfied. You are the only person so far who can stand here and prevent killers from doing their job. If you go and these people are killed, you won't be safe.
At what point did you become very optimistic that this tragedy was coming to an end?
This is always in my nature. I always believe that we can make it if we really want. And I wanted to make it. I wanted to go up to the end, because there's no good reason to kill. And I do not believe in killing. And I do not believe in solving any conflict with guns. I believe that the best and the worst weapon in a human being is words. So I believe that I was always optimistic, and I believe that we could make it until a time we made it.
And after this crisis finally came to an end, You initially tried to stay in the country and see what else you could do to help, but at some point you decided to move to another place. What led to that decision?
We initially, not only myself, but many Rwandans believed in the newcomers, in the Rwandan Patriotic Front, who had been fighting for their rights. They had been in exile for 30 years, 35 years since 1959 until 1994. So we believe that these people were kind of angels sent from above, from heaven. But we never knew who they are. So this is why, after going through, opposite to what Hotel Rwanda portrays, because Hotel Rwanda portrays a hotel manager who saved or helped people, and at the end, he fled the country and went to Tanzania. I did not go to Tanzania. I stayed in the country for another more than 2 years, trying to help and rebuild. But I noticed that the conquerors, the victors, wanted everything. They even wanted my position. They wanted that to be also called general managers at a certain level. So my life was at stake. At a given time, a soldier came to my house. He was almost killing me. When he brought his pistol from his belt, my housemaid just cried and said, "He's going to kill you, Papa Fiston. He's going to kill you, Papa Fiston." Fiston is the nickname of my younger son. So when she said that, I pushed him. It was around 7:30 in the evening. He felt down. I ran outside, now calling for help. We were in a residential area, very close to the military camp, about maybe 100 meters, 200 meters away. So the soldiers came and surrounded my house. I was already outside. I just hands up. Then they got hold of that guy. And the following morning, his boss came to my office and told me, "Listen, Mr. Manager, that guy did not have a gun. He had a toy." I looked at him and told him that, "Sir, I do not know how to handle guns, but at least I can know what they are." He had a gun. Maybe it was not a gun because it could not kill me. It did not kill me because it was not yet my day, but it was a gun. So from that day, I decided also to flee the country and go to exile. It was more than enough.
So now you've been in exile for about a decade and a half, and you're working on a number of projects. You have a foundation that is designed to help people understand what happened in Rwanda and the broader phenomenon of genocide. Tell us a little bit about the foundation and its work.
Well, the foundation started actually not as a foundation. Initially, we did not call it a foundation. But the first idea, which was actually not even an idea, started on July the 12th, 1994, when for the first time we took a car, went out to go to our homelands and see whether there was anyone remaining. So this is when we noticed that my wife's family, her two sisters, one of them was already in the rural area with her 8 kids. Her 9th daughter had been killed with my mother-in-law. Her husband was also killed. She was there alone with 8 kids, 7 daughters and a boy. So she was hiding her boy and putting him in a bag, zipping it, pushing it under the bed. So when I saw this, once again, my conscience told me that you are not doing the right thing if you happen to leave these people here. We took them to Kigali, the capital city, moved from our house, just put her in our house, and went to live at the hotel with our own families, children, and a lot of other people who had come. Everybody was fleeing, coming to me, because I was kind of becoming a kind of legend around the capital city. So now we gave her, with her 8 kids, the house. And about 3 weeks later, her sister, also the younger sister of my wife, also who had fled to the Congo, her husband, this time killed by the Rwandan Patriotic Front on power today, because as I said, we were in a civil war. She had lost him with his father and his younger brother. So she fled with others to the Congo. And when she learned that we are there, she came back. So we also had to send her to our house, where her sister was with her 8 kids, and she also had 3 sons. We were now having 11 kids and two mothers, two widows. So we started by taking care of widows, first of all. And later on, we also noticed that those kids needed to go to school. We had to create jobs for the widows. They now find somewhere money to pay for the school fees for the kids. And then many other family members and even total strangers joined. We helped orphans and widows up to around 2006-07. That is when I realized that all the kids we had been helping, sending to schools, helping widows psychologically, and so on, we were not really helping to heal a nation. We were helping on an individual basis, but not really helping our people as such. So when we started seeing those widows disappearing, some of these or others going to exile, the young people who had been trained in universities, leaving the country because they are not on the right side to get jobs at that time. So they were not getting jobs, not because they were not able to do it, but because they were not from the right side, from the right ethnic group. So we said, now in order to help our region, in order to help our country, we need to change our goals and objectives. And this time, preach and raise awareness about the truth in what has happened in Rwanda, about equal rights, about equal justice, which are prior to a sustainable peace, not only for Rwanda, but also to the whole region, the Great Lakes of Africa, which has been suffering for half a century and more.
So you managed to remain optimistic through the worst days of this crisis. And today I would think you're more optimistic than ever, even though there is an ongoing struggle in Rwanda and other places for human rights and for decency and freedoms and so forth. As you look out 10, 20 years into the future, do you feel that there will be solutions to the situation in Rwanda and to others around the world where we have this kind of problem?
Well, I believe that Rwanda is a country for 3 ethnic groups. There is no Rwanda for Hutus, there is no Rwanda for Tutsis. When I started speaking about this, I was just the only person, because the people who were in exile were Hutus, and all Hutus were condemned to be genocidaires, to have committed the genocide. Whether they committed it or not, the Rwandan government had made laws and rules and regulations all around the genocide to protect this elite on power. So that time I was alone. But today I have noticed that Rwandans, from the high-ranking former aides of today's Rwandan president, decided to leave because they are fed up. They say, we have advised him not to continue this. We advised him not to attack the Congo for the second time. We have advised him to respect natural borders between neighbor countries. He did not want to listen to us. He does not listen. We have decided to join your team. Now we have all those people with us. And also, recently, maybe you heard about the Congo mapping, the mapping report about the Congo, done by the United Nations. It came out on October 1st, last year, 2010. And this report is very clear. It says that what Rwanda did in the Congo, if it is examined by a tribunal, it could be also called a genocide. So now the regime, the elite on power, the Tutsi elite today on power, because it is not a Tutsi power, but an elite power. So this elite on power is also in trouble. Also, they are being hunted kind of by the international justice. The Spanish judge issued about 40 arrest warrants against today's president and his lieutenants, the 40 of them. He's number 41. The French judge issued also another 9 arrest warrants against his high-ranking lieutenants. He is number 10 on the list. So the country is led by people who have been involved in mass massacres. So our main objective is to change those things, and we can, because we have now the United Nations on our side, we have the international community, the European Union. So we are on the winning side. I'm more optimistic than ever.
Good. Well, on that positive note, I will thank you, Mr. Rusesabagina, for joining us today.
Thank you very much.
And thank you. For the Global Perspective Show, I'm John Bercia. We'll see you next time.
This program was made possible by funding from the UCF Global Perspectives Office.